Sat Sri Akal, Namaste, Salam, Vanakkam. This is post-colonial India, and I still haven't exhausted ways in which to greet each other on a morning, on a lovely morning. It's very pleasant weather, and I'm glad I was invited here to experience this campus, to meet the people that I have met and I hope I meet, to have such wonderful words spoken by both Professor Ghosh and Dr. Sen. She in fact has done a wonderful job. She's given you the field of post-colonial studies, so I don't need to talk about it. मैं तो अब कुछ नहीं बोल सकता हूँ, because she's done my job in a very beautiful, precise way. Raised the question, she actually mapped the field and raised the questions. उसके बाद तो it depends on what I want to talk about, what questions I will answer, what questions I'll pick up, which is a very, very good way of looking at it, because when Professor Shantanu Ghosh said post-colonial English, I had just written them after that a few titles, and by that time I noticed he'd already chosen post-colonial English. I said, okay, ठीक है, I'll speak what I want to speak within that rubric. बात ऐसा है that we live in a country with multiple languages. So many languages are not even counted in the census, because to be counted in the census as a language you should have at least 10,000 speakers. नहीं है तो language नहीं है. I'll tell you the curiosity about it, because people give you numbers. अगर आप सेंसस नंबर से देखेंगे लगेगा कि ऑस्ट्रेलिया में ज्यादा लैंग्वेजेस हैं हमारे से, और ऑलमोस्ट इक्वल नंबर ऑफ लैंग्वेजेस. Not true, right? Not true at all. So it's the way we consider, when we consider language to be a language. Okay, you go to Arunachal Pradesh, Northeast India. I don't think there's anyone from the Northeast here. Do we have someone from the Northeast? कोई है यहाँ पे Northeast से? No. Right. So when you go to Arunachal, as I did once, and I met a very, very, very good writer. If you haven't read her, you should read her, Mamang Dai. And Mamang Dai had called me home to meet her mother, to meet her family, to meet her brother's children who spoke Tamil, because her brother was posted in Tamil Nadu. So children are not speaking Tamil. She said, you should come because we can't make sense of what the child is saying. So you must tell us what he is saying. Right? And the child was traumatized because he actually thought nobody would understand him. And then here was a man who could understand him. And he's telling me, no, don't translate what I say. So I'm not sure everybody speaks, interestingly, Hindi to each other. All naturally speak Hindi to each other. Lingua franca and naturally is Hindi. So I met this older Assamese writer. We went to a meeting with writers. So I asked, why do you speak Hindi to each other? He didn't understand the question. He looked at me and said, we have 200 mutually unintelligible languages. The only way we can talk to each other is in Hindi. Arunachal Pradesh 200 mutually unintelligible languages. अगर आप census account देखें तो 200 का, you cannot have a number like 200 in Arunachal. It's impossible, because our number of languages census reports is far, it's a low figure. Then more than half of it is in Arunachal. That's not who it is, right? So obviously each language is spoken by less than 10,000 people, most of those languages. Okay. So I said, I still don't understand. Why Hindi? He looked at me and said, because it is not Assamese. Why? Because Assamese was the language of colonialism there. The colonizer's language. The hegemonic language. You see post-colonial, we automatically think English. We don't realize how our own languages have colonized other languages in our own country, and how people have reacted to it. So it's not Assamese, therefore we speak Hindi. Okay, but why do you still speak Hindi? Logical question है, if you come from here, you come from English departments, अरे यार Northeast है सब English बोलते हैं, Christian बने हुए, why don't you speak English to each other? then it struck me. I'm looking at Arunachal wrongly. I'm looking at Arunachal as part of the Northeast problem. If you want to put it within brackets, I say I'm not looking at it as a problem, but I see that's the issue there, that many of them feel they have been forcefully united with India. So they do not see themselves as Indians. And who will blame them? Most Indians don't think of them as Indians. वो आते हैं वो चिंकी Chinese. You don't think of them as Indians, and then you get angry when they don't think of themselves as Indians. So it's a very funny situation we are in. All right. So I made a mistake. Arunachal wants to be India, so they want to speak an identifiably Indian language. Because they are right next to China, they don't want to be gobbled up by China. They want China puts Arunachal as part of China in its maps. Arunachal Pradesh people do not get visas to go to China because China says you don't need a visa. You are Chinese. They give a paper which says Chinese citizen temporarily coming on an Indian passport, which of course the Indian government objects to. So they want the Indian army there. The one state out there which wants the Indian military presence, one state there which wants to speak an Indian language, to be seen as part of India. What is all this about? Yet post-colonial it's a very complicated matter. Even we, when we talk about post-colonial studies and post-colonial English and post-colonial India, we think of India as one, homogeneous. It's not true. That's not true at all. And post-colonial itself is a difficult term, as was pointed out earlier, because post-colonial का मतलब क्या है? After independence? Does it mean after colonization came to us, which includes before independence? So is it post-colonial after we cease to be a colony, or is it post-colonial after the beginning of colonization? Because it can be used either way, and has been used either way, though the situations are very, very different. So this thing about English, I kept my phone there so there should be no disturbance with this mic. So this business about English, post-colonial English, by English I assume that all of you understand, I mean the language. I mean the language. But if you mean the people, post-colonial English, अरे उन पे तो बहुत असर पड़ा है यार. Post-colonial England took a long time to recover from loss of colonies. The post-colonial English people suffered after the end of colonization. Why? And I hope you go to England, I hope you go to America, I hope you go to Canada, I hope you go everywhere that you want to go. If you go to London, their pride is the underground railway system, जो हम यहाँ पे metro बोल देते हैं. So the underground was built with money from India. When it was first built, it was the Indian money that helped them build it. यहाँ से जो लूट के ले गए, that helped them build it. And after that, till 1990s, they could not extend or renovate it because they didn't have India, they didn't have money. They suffered. They also changed. Macaulay ने कहा, I want to create a generation of Indians who are brown, but who are English in taste. Right? So that our tastes are English, we change to being English people in all but a skin color. Taste से याद आ गया. What is it? What is the national food, if you want, national of England? Chicken tikka masala. किसका टेस्ट बदला भाई? हमारा नहीं, आपका. We don't eat boiled meat and boiled vegetables. Except when your stomach is hurting. They eat chicken tikka masala. They have a stiff upper lip. But when Diana died, did you see the processions? Did you see how they cried on the road? Did you see when the marriages take place, how much like a male it is? They have changed. Post-colonial English have become like Indians. And that's also because so many of us are there now. So many Indians there. वो तो अलग बात है, right? In fact, Punjabi and Gujarati are among the top 4 languages spoken in England. So things change. If you go to many parts of England, you will find road signs with at least 2 Indian languages. At least 2 Indian languages. I've photographed from different parts of England. Whenever I go, I photograph street sign to say how many Indian languages come there, right? So, post-colonial English, the people have changed, post-colonial England has changed, but that is not what I'm going to talk about. That was just to refer कि भाई सब कुछ बदल गया वहाँ पे, right? And what have they become? They've been influenced by us. They've been influenced by South Asia, the India that they knew, which included Pakistan, Bangladesh, because that was India that they ruled, right? So words, our Indian words have entered English language. Words from various Indian languages have entered English language. If you look at any dictionary, Oxford English Dictionary, Collins, any dictionary, you open it and you will find a number of Indian words of Indian origin. Some are, of course, Indian words which are there from later on, from video games times, like Avatar, right? But I was post-colonial English, right? I am a consultant for Collins Dictionary, and Collins Dictionary sent me many words which were old from colonial times. Nobody was. So I said you can remove them, and then there were words that occurred like Avatar, and Avatar they gave a video game reference, character rules that you assume that changes. So I said no. Avatar comes from the reincarnations of Lord Vishnu. It has to be stated. They said no. Maybe in the larger dictionary, but the smaller dictionary we won't. This is meant for contemporary usage, and the way it is used in England and the US is in terms of video games. Mega tabhi, that word comes from somewhere, and it means what it means in video games because of what it means in Hindu culture. And so we hear back and forth about many things, about yoga, about many things. How do you define the word? And I realized कि मैं क्या बहस कर रहा हूँ उनके साथ. They are the gatekeepers of that language. They are not going to accept what I say. English उनका है, and वो जो सुने वही है. Why? The most famous dictionary from colonial India is called Hobson-Jobson. कभी मौका मिले ना, कभी if you get hold of it, read through it. It's fun. You won't understand it till you read it. A dictionary can be full of humor and fun, and we're laughing at them all the time. Why is it called Hobson-Jobson? It is from what the English people heard during Muharram. Hussain, hey Hussain. They heard Hobson-Jobson. They actually heard Gosan, right? And they kind of kept changing it until it became Hobson-Jobson. And Hobson-Jobson to them was also a good way of describing all tamashas, all melas of India. They used it for everything. Oh, they're having a Hobson-Jobson. It meant they're having an event, right? What they heard, and it was also a pejorative way. कि भाई इंडिया में तो ना हर चीज को दो बार बोलते हैं, थोड़ा एक करके, अरे बार बोलते हैं, right? So होता है nearly that only. We repeat words, we reduplicate words, right? So and if said by slight change, it's like funny, Hobson-Jobson. Because I said Hobson. No, Hobson-Jobson. So if you read that, you realize how many words they misheard but didn't care about. What they heard was the correct word. The way they spelled it was the correct spelling. The way they gave it meaning was the correct meaning. Because it is their language. It's funny because the dictionary was given to all English people who came to work in India as a dictionary of Indian terms, Anglo-Indian terms they should know. So they almost invented and perpetuated a language and pretended it was all full of Indian words, right? And which come from the Indian landscape. इससे एक चीज मालूम होता है, क्या मालूम होता है कि भाई आप अंग्रेज हो, जो मर्जी हो, आप इंडिया आएंगे और कोई देश जाएंगे, उस देश में what you see and what you hear, the trees, the flowers, the sounds, the weather, you need words to describe all that. And the words to describe all that, but very often if you don't have those words, you've not seen those phenomena, you don't know them, will come from the from the local language, this stage mein ho. उस लैंग्वेज में जो कहते हैं वही वर्ड आप भी इस्तेमाल करेंगे. Whether you hear it wrong, it's like मौसम को मानसून बनाया यार. Monsoon is मौसम, and we also say monsoon. Right? Not only do we say monsoon, post-colonial English. In Australia, they call the rains monsoon. So all around the world, people call the kind of rainy season monsoon. Though it specifically meant मौसम, the right मौसम for the sails to blow, for the ships to come, and so it was coming from a nautical term कि मौसम अब ठीक है. When the winds, you can go with the winds to monsoon winds, right? To monsoon. So you pick up words, you make them your own, you change them to suit your pronunciation, you change them to spell them the way you want to spell, the way you pronounce. So the word changes, the local word changes and becomes English. So English, our languages do the same, all our languages will do the same. But we're talking about English, and English did across the world, across the world. पता नहीं उनके कान में क्या खराबी थी. They never heard correctly. अरे यार, फिरेंजे, इटली में फिरेंजे, हम क्या बोला था उसको? फ्लोरेंस. क्यों? अंग्रेजी ने फ्लोरेंस का फ्लोरेंस लिखा. फिरेंजे, फ्लोरेंस. फिरेंजे और फ्लोरेंस का क्या है? What is the connection? Obviously, बस अनपढ़ अंग्रेज लोगों ने गलत सुना और बना दिया. Right? They rule the world. That not necessarily to be educated or sophisticated or this thing. जो पायरेट है वो जीतता है. That was the time, those were the times. So we have in India, when we became independent, we inherited the English language because by then the English language had become the language of the bureaucracy, of the courts. तो आप लेते हैं तो bureaucracy का language लेते हैं. आपका, because your government officers are functioning in that language, your courts are functioning in that language. There is a vestigial language that also is used in the courts, which is Persian. Persian was the language of law earlier. तो वो भी है. थोड़ा बहुत हिंदू, इसमें संस्कृत भी है. But mainly Persian and English, to the extent that in many Indian languages they use Persian words without knowing the Persian words. Right? So Tamil में, they think it's completely a Tamil word to say dastabej. Because court कचहरी में इस्तेमाल होता था. They made it Tamil. Right? They would say wakalat. And in proper Tamil way, because they say if two people are fighting, or if your mother and your sister are fighting, and you go and talk on behalf of your sister, your mother will say in Tamil she'll tell you, क्या वकालत लेने आ गया तू इसका? वकालत लेने आ गया. So I'm translating from Tamil will be लेने आ गया. वकालत लेने आ गया. The point being that you are coming on her to talk on her behalf. Where is it coming from? And where is the Tamil word wakalat coming from? In so much so, in Tamil, if you remember, why this Kolavari, that song which became very popular in Tamil, it's called, the Tamil word is Gana Patu, which means, if I translate it into English, this is the second word, this Tamil word, Gana song. Gana is song, yaar. What is Gana Patu? You realize it comes from North Indian migrant labor that worked in the port city of Madras. The North Indian migrant labor, people, men coming without women and families, working out there, drinking every evening, feeling sorry for themselves, or sing songs which they call Gana. Obviously, very sad songs. And usually sexist songs, or love songs, or loss of love songs, missing women songs, right? So those are the songs. So when this was popular in Tamil popular culture and films, when they picked it up, they call them Gana songs, Gana Patu. So this business of words coming into a language, changing, used differently, coming to mean other things, or misunderstood, all this is part of any kind of situation where people of one language live with people of another language. So this is bound to happen. And this is happening in our country, as I said, post-colony. Most of our languages, especially in port cities, Madras, Bombay, Kolkata, you realize port cities, where lots of people came and left, but also everywhere, without people realizing, English words have entered their vocabulary, Persian words have entered the vocabulary, but we inherited, in terms of a nation state, we inherited the official language of English. The language of, by official I mean, the language of officialdom, of rule, of governance. अब क्या करें हम भाई? हमें तो बहुत प्रॉब्लम था. Think about it. Post colonial English, why did we stay with English? Constitution Assembly के debates पढ़िए. In the debates, they say, forget what language, what मैं अभी आ रहा हूँ. What should we call ourselves? What should be our name as a country? And the debate is about Indian versus English versus foreign. They don't even know, of course, that India was not a name given, directly given to us by the English. Hind, Hindu, it all comes from our Arabic neighbors. When they came, Sindhu ko Hindu banaya, Hindu ko Hindu banaya, Hindu se Hindustan aaya, you know. So, when the Constituent Assembly debate takes place, they are saying, what should we call Hindustan? By the way, I am saying this clearly. You should look at it, how many of them call India Hindustan in that debate. Lots of people do. But they don't want India to be called Hindustan. Hindustan को क्या बनाएंगे? Right? So, हम हिंदुस्तानी अपने वतन, अरे ये हिंदुस्तानी बोल रहा है, why need to call it Hindustan? No, नहीं करना. Reasons? एक तो far right, the far right had already started this, Hindu right had started with the slogan, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan. So during the freedom movement, this was one of the slogans that come up, Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan. They don't want Hindi, Hindu, Hindustan. Also, Hindustan, to a large population subcontinent, meant Mughal India, India under Muslim rule. So in Maharashtra, 1857, there's a Marathi Brahmin who says, I'm so impoverished, I have to go and earn money outside my city. So it's a lovely travel through 1857. It's available in English translation now. So he starts and he says, मैं तो अब हिंदुस्तान जा रहा हूँ पैसा कमाने. So what does it mean? From Maharashtra he's coming north and he says, I'm going to Hindustan to earn money. And the poor guy does not know 1857 मोटी what हो रहा है. He, all it quotes that he wants to go to earn money, all of them are fighting the British government. But it's a very interesting story where this man goes from court to court, meets people, but he's in the middle of a war of independence, which he has no awareness of. Alright, which he gains awareness of. So, I was talking about what we call ourselves. So, Pakistan does not want India to be called India. Muhammad Ali Jinnah already said, oh, India gaya. Right, we are Pakistan, you have to name yourself something else. So the Congress is saying, हमने आपको जन आप गए, you went, you wanted freedom. We are India, you split. So we will call ourselves India. We are the India. This fight, by the way, still goes on in academies around the world. That when they talk about India, should India refer to the whole subcontinent before independence? Right? Or, and therefore, should we call it all whole thing South Asia? So South Asia बोलते हैं. Because India is a misleading term as far as Pakistani scholars are concerned. So they said, don't call yourself India, हमने कहा we'll call ourselves India. But there are many people in the assembly who are saying, no, let's give ourselves an Indian name. So some people suggested, let's call ourselves Bharat, that is called India in English. That is called India in English. I'm quoting. Or by the way, United Provinces, UP, United Provinces those days, their representative said, Arey, if you don't want to call our independent nation Hindustan, I want UP to be called Hindustan. So there was a huge furor over that also. How can you call yourself Hindustan? Tum to ek state ho. So finally, they decided we'll call ourselves India, that is Bharat. Bharat gives you a Hindu past, an idea of a nation that's always existed, right? That kind of, they want you to go for something like that, right? Bhaiya. So it is a very interesting debate in terms of what they thought of as English India and Indian India. It is interesting because the constitution we came up with was in English. Was in English. They had a Hindi translation with the caveat that if there was ever any doubt, any challenge, any legal question raised, it will be the English that we consulted as the original. So we don't have two originals. We don't say Hindi is original, English is original. No. We say the English is original, the Hindi is a translation. Post-colonial English. पूछा नहीं छुड़ा हमारा. The Constitutional Assembly debating about names, saying India is an English name, still has its constitution in English. Still says English is the original. Still says English is the original. Oh, by the way, Constitution of India is not available in all Indian languages. Not even in all the Indian languages in Schedule 8B. It's a shame कि we are a country of so many languages, but आपको Constitution नहीं मिलता. And इसलिए मैं क्यों कह रहा हूँ? It is because successive governments of this country have not given us citizens of the country what is due to us. Because उन्होंने भी तो Constitution पढ़ा ही नहीं है. Because they don't know the language of the Constitution, many of them. So we are not treated as equal citizens. We are citizens of this country by the allegiance we owe the Constitution. Right? That's why we say we are citizens. Anyways, वो जाने दो. वो तो ये तो मैं I'm coming from JNU ऐसी चीजें बोलता हूँ मैं. But let's get back to the English. The post-colonial English then is a language that we continue to adopt because English was, by saying governance, I'm saying English is a language of privilege. And English was also seen as the language of governance, therefore power. So post-colonial English is a language of privilege and power. Not any longer. Not any longer. I think still a language of privilege, but not necessarily the language of power. Not. हाँ, क्योंकि आप बिहार में हो, चीफ मिनिस्टर बनो बिहार के, आप पंजाब में पंजाब के चीफ मिनिस्टर बनो, पंजाबी ना जानो और पंजाब के चीफ मिनिस्टर बनो, हो नहीं सकता. It's not possible. Don't speak Hindi, don't speak Bhojpuri, don't speak anything, and you only speak English. बिहार के बन जाओ चीफ मिनिस्टर. कैसे हो सकता है? So language of power in most of the states is the language of that state. Except that we have Naveen Patnaik in Odisha who only speaks English. उसको छोड़ो, वो तो खानदानी है. So उसको छोड़ो. Otherwise, every chief minister of this country speaks the language of that state very, very well. They may not know English. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. So still the language of prestige, but not of power. What have we done to this English? अभी भी क्या है? हमने अंग्रेजों को हटा दिया, अंग्रेजी नहीं हटाया हमने, नहीं हटा पाए. The Constitution said we'll have English for 15 years. 15 साल क्या हो गए, 17 साल के ऊपर हो गए, we still have English. Right? Okay. Why? And what have we done to the English? This is the next question. Why? I would leave it to you, but I'll just say one thing. Why South Indian states anti-Hindi is a good, very quick, shorthand explanation. कि भाई इंग्लिश ये है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने खुद कहा कि एवरी स्टेट शुड एक्सेप्ट हिंदी, एक्सेप्ट हिंदी तब करेंगे, एंड साउथ इंडियन स्टेट्स ने इस चीज में शुरू कर दिया एंटी हिंदी लेजिस्लेशन, जस्ट लाइक द नॉर्थ इंडियन स्टेट्स है अंग्रेजी हटाओ. Right? अंग्रेजी हटाओ मेक एंटी हिंदी, एंड सो एंटी हिंदी वन द डे बिकॉज ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. वो ठीक है. The other is that Hindi is seen as the aspiration to own the nation of the people of North India. In many parts of India, they will say Hindi shows aspiration to own the nation. So India will belong to the people who speak Hindi. They'll become first-class citizens. Others will not. ये feeling भी है लोगों में, right? And this feeling is across the country, right? Including in Punjab. So this is not a feeling that will go away easily. So ये भी कारण है. अंग्रेजी it's become an Indian language. We can say that English is now an Indian language. Post-colonial English stays on and we still speak English because it is now an Indian language. When I studied in school, I studied in a government-aided school called Madrasi School. As you must have realized, I'm a Tamilian, but I was born in Delhi, grew up in Delhi, and my father decided कि भाई ये तो दिल्ली वाला बन रहा है, ये तो मद्रासी रूट्स इसका तो है ही नहीं, sent me off to Madrasi School. Tamil में पढ़, Tamil में सीख. So I was there, and we spoke Tamil and English at home. Middle class family, spoke English and Hindi in the streets, spoke Tamil and Hindi in the school. Right? Relation देखो, Hindi was the language of the street for me. Right? English was and Tamil were language of home. School, it could have been Tamil, but it slowly went to English. Why? Tamil mein, I don't know about how many Indian languages I can say this, but many Indian languages will bear me out. Many Indian languages are gendered in a certain way that it's gender hierarchical, right? So there is a degree of politeness that men get automatically. All that happens in Indian languages, whereas English doesn't happen. The other thing is, Tamil is a caste marked language. Right? So you open your mouth and start speaking Tamil and people know what your caste is. Third, it's a region marked language. So you will know which region. Most Indian languages are region marked. Right? किस region से आए हो उस state में. And that region will be a backward region, forward region. So depending on that, what respect you get, or that region may also say which community you are from. These are not democratic languages in that sense. It's not that English is evil, but हमारे English तो दूसरा language है ना. It's somebody else's language, right? So English stayed on because if two Tamilians meet outside Tamil Nadu, not forget America or England, I'm saying in India, they will not speak Tamil to each other because they spoke Tamil. So Bengalis will speak Bengali, right? But Tamilians will not speak Tamil to each other. Why not? Because क्या मालूम क्या caste का है वो? And if I speak my caste Tamil and he or she speaks the other caste Tamil, we cannot talk to each other after that. Because caste politics is so strong in Tamil Nadu. Such a strong caste politics that you'd rather stay with English. And what does the English allow you to do? The English allows you to have a fellow feeling with a fellow Tamilian. The English is giving me a fellow feeling with a fellow Tamilian. Post-colonial English. There was a movie whose name I forget, which had Juhi Chawla in it. Humne Rahi Pyar Ke, if I'm not wrong. It's a slightly old movie, where there was a Tamil family. And how is, they of course speak Tamil, which is not translated or subtitled, but that their Tamilness is very clear from the beginning because they speak a Tamil accented English. And because they speak English. So English is a regional marker. Tamil. You know when they speak English, they're Tamilians. So English, start thinking English, क्या नहीं करते हैं English India में? It marks you as a person from a state, right? Oh, आप तो पंजाबी हैं, because I can see the Punjabi accent or Punjabi thing in English. I can see the Marathi, I can see the Odia, I can hear the Bengali. Sometimes I confuse the Bengali and Odia, वो अलग बात है. I can hear Bihari. I can mark somebody by the English they speak. And of course, एक बहुत बढ़िया चीज हम सबके साथ हो गया है, and I'm illustrating this. We are all equally incompetent in every language that we speak. Equally थोड़ा सा exaggeration है, ये levels of incompetence. कहीं में ज़्यादा incompetent है, कहीं में कम incompetent है, right? So what does that do to us? We never speak in one language. We shift. आप बात करें linguistics में code mixing, code shifting, yeah, we'll talk about that, right? And why do we? And again, linguistic reasons of why we do in terms of action. Sometimes you shift in order to signal to somebody else a kind of sense of solidarity, belonging, right? So, बीच में वो language ला दिया. Sometimes if you're shifting from English to some language, you're saying, setting an informal atmosphere. कई बार आप एक official इसमें हो, confrontationist हो रहा है, and you want to diffuse situation or you want some work done, in English say, if you are here, you shift to Punjabi. Because when you shift to Punjabi, you're saying, yaar, kaam to kar de mera. Punjabi hai. Right? So without giving you a bribe, let's get the work done. Right? So the whole thing of moving languages, moving from one language to another, but it is also sometimes because we're incompetent. हम बोल नहीं पाते एक language fully. So we know. And very often we don't know, because we know so many languages, 3 languages, 2 languages, 4 languages, we don't have words. एक word आता है, एक language में आ जाता है वो word. But we don't know the exact equivalent in another language. So we use that word which comes to the top of our head immediately. We use that hoping it will be understood. Others of our own language will understand what I'm saying. Because there is no exact English equivalent. Because of the English we speak. If I call English the language of the uncles and aunties. सब अंकल हैं, सब आंटी हैं. हमारे भाषा में तो सब अंकल आंटी नहीं, अब होने लगे हैं. Even when people speak Hindi or Punjabi, say uncle. Uncle ji. The thing is, when I say that to my daughter, she says, be happy. Otherwise they will call you Dada ji. Yeah, Nana ji. You're old. Be happy to call me uncle. That's okay. I'm happy. But the thing is, when you speak your Indian language, every kinship term that you use has a specific resonance and meaning. Chacha ho, whatever equivalent you have, right? Bua ho, it has a resonance. When you say Bua, there's a resonance to the term Bua. If I say in Tamil, it means something. English means uncle, aunt. So when somebody asks you, who will come to your house today? And you say, 2 uncles and 3 aunts. Then you have to say, many chacha hai hamare, taw hai hamare, you have to say what the relationship is. And that you can't say in English. You try saying it, my paternal uncle, younger uncle, and my paternal older uncle. It looks nonsense. You can't do this in English. Right? So, when we speak in English, and we speak English fluently, our kinship terms will come from our language. Because we want to say exactly kiski baat kar rahe hain hum. Right? And what is the status of the relation. It's like, sindoor ko sindoor bolenge. You will not say, Robin mark in the middle of the parting the oil. By the time you finish a sentence, सत्यानाश हो गया तब तो आप तो शुभ बात कर रहे हो. And thing is, English is an interesting language for us because it cannot represent us. It cannot represent our lived realities completely. It cannot. Right? We know it cannot. We know it cannot. But we use it still. As she said, our writers, there are so many major Indian English writers, right? And they represent Indian realities. They represent Indian realities, knowing fully well that English cannot do it. Which is why I argued again and again that Indian English writers are translators. They are actually translators. They are very good translators. In fact, when I train translators and I do workshop with translators, मैं उनसे बोलता हूँ, यार तुम Indian English writers को पढ़ लो ना पहले, वो क्या करते हैं देख लो ना, because they write a readable English which is read around the world. So you are translating to me, मैं अंग्रेजी के लिए translate कर रहा हूँ, I need to be very good English. You write and give us a dead translation, but write with Indian English writers and you give us a good translation, because Indian English writers are nothing but translators. They have to explain these kinship terms, they have to explain relationships, they have to explain a lived reality which is not अंग्रेज. कैसे करेंगे? कैसे करेंगे? Vikram Seth, a suitable boy, has a debate. मैं बाकी किसी चीज बात कर रहा हूँ. एक debate है वहाँ पे जमींदारी का abolishment के बारे में, which is one of the biggest things in 1950s that India enacted, all the zamindari acts. Debate हो रहा है. Long debate in English. Long debate in English. And at the end of one, he'll say, Vikram Seth will write, he said in Urdu. Then a long thing, he said in Hindi. We're talking about it. Two words Two words is all he needed. One person saying Dhanyavad, the other person saying Shukriya. That's all he needed. If we turned to Indian languages, it was done like that. He didn't need those huge things. He didn't need explanations. He just completely would show completely two different positions with two words, intelligible to speakers of both languages, but making a statement. I mean, I grew up in a Delhi where they said Shukriya. I grew up in a Delhi where our words for books, kitab, right, was common. My daughter grew up in Delhi where, what did you say for which word? You had to say pustak. You couldn't say kitab. She wrote kitab, the teacher marked it wrong. Because I told her kitab, she wrote kitab, and she came and told me, I'll never listen to you again. Right? She couldn't say Shukriya. It had to be Dhanyavad. Dhanyavad. Right? So, what has the end of college done to us? It has, they divided and ruled when they were here. And we are still dividing and ruling ourselves even now. We are following the same thing. But the English has to show this. Our English has to show it. तो हम क्या करते हैं इसमें? We pollinate it. We use Indian words. We use various things to use Indian words. We shift to an Indian language. And we struggle to make English our own, our language. इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या है? इसमें प्रॉब्लम है very clearly. When I say our language, in your head you're thinking, our language, हिंदी की बात कर रहे हैं, पंजाबी की बात कर रहे हैं, तमिल की बात कर रहे हैं. Our languages. So our Englishes, in the plural, she will know, suppose she started at all of you will know, when postal studies आपने किया है, तो English with small lowercase e and Englishes. Arey yaar, we don't need to study postal theory for us. We just need to listen to each other. We all speak different Englishes. Right? Accent, one thing. And then vocabulary, that's another thing. Right? Our accent and vocabulary. Why vocabulary? Because it is pollinated by, the English is pollinated by words from the languages we speak. And if we speak different languages, our language is different. टेंडेंसी क्या है इंडियन इंग्लिश में? टेंडेंसी इन इंडिया, बात बताओ, इंडिया में टेंडेंसी इज टू सी इंडिया इज नॉर्थ इंडिया. सीधी सी बात है. हिस्ट्री आप सबने पढ़ा होगा स्कूल में. When you studied history in school, what did you study? Did you study about the great southern kingdoms? किसी ने नहीं पढ़ा होगा. कोई नहीं पढ़ता. Even in South Europe, it's that. The history of India is history of North India. किसने आया, किसने अटैक किया, किसने किंगडम बनाया यहाँ पे. You go down south when they go down south. जब औरंगजेब goes down south, you go down south. And the sultanate goes down south, you go down south. फिर वो जब वापस आ जाते हैं डिफीट होके, आप भी वापस आ जाते हो. Right? You never really read. इसीलिए तो somebody like the BJP government can say, and lots of people agree, कि Hindus have never been aggressive. We've never gone out of the country to rule. We've never done this. Haven't they heard of the Tamil kingdoms of Cambodia, of Bali, of even of influence of Vietnam? Haven't they heard of how the southern kingdoms and of course Sri Lanka? Haven't they heard of all this? No, because अरे यार वो तो साउथ इंडियंस है, इंडियंस थोड़ी है. वो पैदा हो गए, वो तो हिंदू नहीं है, इंडियंस नहीं है. एंड ऑफ कोर्स इन नॉर्थ इंडिया, इन वेरी मेनी प्लेसेस, मनाली वाले आपने भी देखा होगा, होटल, छोटे होटल में लिखा होता है Indian, South Indian, Chinese food available. तो इंडियन का मतलब साउथ इंडियन तो अलग है. इंडियन does not include South Indian. Indian, South Indian, Chinese food available. Right? So that's a problem with our English also. When we say Indian English, we think it is Indianized with Hindi words. It is Indianized with Hindi words. Right? And Hindi structures. Some to laugh at, but some just to accept. Yeah, वैसी हैं. जैसे plain charge. Till 1960s, if you look at the archives, the statesman would say the police plain charged the crowd. It's only after that it becomes lathi charge. And lathi charge is used across India. Acceptable, because Hindi. If I come up with a Tamil word for it, it would not have been acceptable around India. Right? We say kurta, you wear a kurta, all over India you wear a kurta. But in the south, the men's kurta used to be called jibba, which is of course not a Tamilian word, because Tamilians don't have a sound like jibba. It's coming from the seafarers, right? So jibba. But jibba is not accepted across India. So these are, when you're writing in Indian English, what is the writer writing about Tamil Nadu? As a writer, what is the writer's problem? Sure, he has to say, I can say veshti, but it's easier to say dhoti, because dhoti is understood across India. If I say veshti, they won't understand. If I say jibba, they won't understand. I will say kurta. I'll say kurta. Of course, kurta is a very funny complicated thing. If you're, how many Bengalis here other than Shantanu? Okay, no Bengalis here. Do you know what is the meaning of Punjabi in Bengal? I'm speaking in English to Bengali, and the Bengali tells me, oh, I have many Punjabis. I have many Punjabis. Punjabi is a kurta. In Bengal, the kurta is called Punjabi. So during the Bangladesh war, when the Punjabis, that is West Pakistan Punjabis and Bengalis are fighting each other, there used to be a joke about this thin Bengali villager who's lost his home, in a little suitcase, he's trying to go to another village, and forceful Pakistani soldiers surround him and say, what is in your suitcase? He says, nothing, just one Punjabi. So, it's when you're speaking, when you're representing India then, I'm just stating that she was wearing a Punjabi because I'm talking about Bengal, but it sounds so odd. It sounds so odd to other Indians. So what do I stay with? That's the point I'm making. I stay with the Hindi word all the time, the Hindi usage all the time. That will be understood by everybody across the country. So there is a certain hegemony that's still happening. When I talked about Hindi hegemony and therefore English survives, but the Hindi hegemony enters English. But one thing I must say, I don't know how many of you will agree. By the way, your job as a chair is to tell me to start slowing down or shut up at a particular time. I carry on for too long. Especially when I see audiences laughing at my jokes. So, क्या होता है कि Hindi is lost. Hindi has lost completely now. Right? Globalization has made English the victor, complete victor, and Hindi's aspirations are gone. क्यों? Hindi newspaper में you will find English and English written in the English, the Roman script. Hindi newspaper में you find English written in the Roman script. Why is that happening? They are giving up. Fashion की बात करें, fashion, English. Romance की बात करें, romance, English. I don't know, I mean, this is supposed to be very straight university, I shouldn't say these things, but all over India, except in this campus, girls have boyfriends, boys have girlfriends. अपनी भाषा में कोई वर्ड ही नहीं है, नहीं है जी, मेरे पास तो, मेरी तो गर्लफ्रेंड ना. So the word is English. You cannot talk about romance in this country without using English words. You cannot talk about fashion in this country, whichever language you speak, without using English words. Lipstick. Fashion column will be full of English. Health, interestingly, health supplements in newspapers, full of English. Full of English. Accessories, fashion wear accessories, English. So it's an interesting thing that throughout India, in every language, English has come to stay, has colonized our languages, right? So इसलिए जब when I was young, when we said English, Hinglish, we meant English with Indian words. Now English means Hindi with English words, because that's what has happened. English is one. आज moon, sun और earth के बीच में होगा. I'm quoting a Hindi newspaper headline. Who is it for? I mean, moon, sun, earth, इसके लिए हिंदी में words नहीं है क्या? Amazing, and eclipse being talked about in this manner, right? In English words, with English words. I'm saying they've given up. Munal Pandey once said that she sees this not as a loss but a victory. That Hindi is not so self-confident. Hindi is not so self-confident that it does not have to guard itself against English. I think you've just given up. You just lost. English you cannot stop English. We are in that situation that post-colony English is no longer seen as a vestigial organ कि ऑपरेट करके निकाल के फेंक सकते हैं. क्या कर रहा है? It has no role to play. Appendix जैसे it can only create trouble. Appendix can create trouble for you, but appendix does not useful work for you. It's used to be a conventional medical wisdom. They may have changed now because I have not kept up. They have to operate and take the appendix out. So English could remove like that. What is the rule? अरे करके तो देखो आप. People who removed English have gone back to English with vengeance. Punjab, school में English now. Bengal, Gujarat, states which took English out of the education system have brought them back into the education system. Why? अब अंग्रेजी सेंस नाता नहीं है इसका. It is the language of commerce, of trade, of globalization. It is the language of empowerment. It is, as my Dalit friends keep telling me, the language which gets them out of the matrix of caste and oppression in this country. So English is a language of liberation. Chandravan Prasad, a leading Dalit theoretician, was on record. By the way, he is the one who built a temple to Lord Macaulay, the English goddess. Temple to the English goddess, not Macaulay, but Macaulay's birthday every year is celebrated in that temple. He said he brought us English and brought us emancipation. Right? Christianity did not emancipate. यहाँ पे बोलूँगा सब मारोगे, मैं वो बोल देता हूँ, गुस्सा नहीं होना मेरे से. The emancipatory religions did not bring emancipation to the lower caste. None of the emancipatory religions, be it Christianity, be it Islam, be it Sikhism, did not get people out of the caste equation. Right? So Chandravan Prasad's thing was, it is not the religions, but it's a language. English liberated us. English gave us opportunity. Right? Kanchalaya has now added an English surname, Shepherd. He wants to be called Professor Shepherd. Management said, sir, why? He says, that is my caste, I'm a shepherd. But you see, English में बोलूँगा ना, not give me respect. अंग्रेजी नाम Shepherd. Professor Shepherd तो ये तो बोलता है ठीक ही होगा. Right? See, the role English is playing in our lives now is a very different role. Right? Kanchalaya, of course, went on record saying, इन सबने इंग्लिश पढ़ लिया. इंग्लिश नहीं पढ़ा तब भी पढ़ लिया क्योंकि बच्चों का काम भेजा सबने इंग्लैंड, कनाडा, अमेरिका जाके पैसा बना रहे हैं और हम यहाँ पे दब रहे हैं. क्यों नहीं? उन्होंने कहा नो, यू मस्ट बी कीपर्स ऑफ योर लैंग्वेज, यू मस्ट मेक योर लैंग्वेज सर्वाइव. तुम यहाँ पे हो, तुम पंजाबी को रखो स्ट्रॉन्ग. पंजाबी डिसअपियर हो रहा है, कन्नड़ डिसअपियर हो रहा है, तमिल डिसअपियर हो रहे हैं. So you see your language are disappearing. You are the keepers of the language. अरे चल, तू तो अंग्रेजी के साथ वहां पहुंच गया, पैसा बना रहा है और मुझे बोल रहा है keep your language. मैं भी अंग्रेजी सीखूंगा. This may have echoes in your life, may not, but this has been the Dalit position across this country, across the country. That why should we be museumized? Let us also, we will be liberated. So post-colonial English is now a world English, an empowering English, not an oppressive English, not an English that showed you your place, not an English of Hobson Jobson, of ruling you and laughing at you, both at the same time. No, it is for you to assert. It's an English that helps you to assert your world citizenship. It's an English that gives you liberty. That's how people are looking at it now, which is why English will not go away. Which is why all over India, you have people teaching you English, teaching shops. School से निकल गया, market में से रह के पढ़ूंगा मैं. You don't teach me well in a government school. I will go to a terrible private school which promises me English. I will play through my nose and learn English. So everything has changed. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed because English still rules. Everything has changed because English rules. Right? We still, so to just talk about post-colonial English is to have, we need to have a broader vision than just the empire and colony. Right? To understand why English is still with us. Why English is still with us. Why BA courses and MA courses across the country in English have so many people applying for them. Why in Delhi University, the first cut-off for English honors very often is 98%, 99% in colleges. Why? Right? Why? Right? Because it is seen to promise you a emancipated, moneyed world, the language of the world elite. So, post-colonial English is something that you feel thankful for. Manmohan Singh, when he was Prime Minister of India, he went to England, to Oxford and Cambridge. He gave a speech there, Cambridge if I'm not wrong, maybe at Oxford, utna yaad nahi hai mujhe. But he said, he thanked the English for the gift of English language. He said, you gave us the railways and you gave us English. He forgot to say you gave us cricket also. But railways in English. And he says, that's what is making us strong. English and the railways. Railways united us, English is making us strong. Arey yaar, I would have been happy if we got English and the railways without the English ruling us. Right? I don't have to thank them for ruling us and looting us. उन्होंने रेलवे बनाया, क्यों बनाया रेलवेज उन्होंने? To take everything to the port city to take it to England. Right? They were looting us and they needed the railways to complete the route. कि जल्दी जाएगा पोर्ट में, शिप में निकल जाएगा इंग्लैंड को. Right? So that's why they built the railways. And they were using English to oppress us. Really? क्या हो गया है? Post-colonial English अब क्या हो गया? अब ये हो गया है. If you take writers for example, writers in various Indian languages want to be translated into English. Why do they want to be translated in English? Because English में prestige है, English में world recognition है, English में awards है, English में पैसा है, right? So I started somewhere, but where I'm really taking you is to think about the role of English in our lives today and why it's playing those roles. Why is it so ascendant? Why has, people of my vintage will know, in the 70s, English was going down. This is after the anti-Hindi, after the English Hatao agitation, Angrezi Hatao agitations. In the 70s, after the Naxalite movement, I'm tracing it clearly, English seemed to be losing completely. The Indian languages of various Indian states seem to be gaining ascendancy. If you were a Tamilian, you had to speak Tamil. If you were Marathi, you had to speak Marathi. So English seemed to be losing hold. To the extent that people in central services also did not have the command of English that people earlier had. And their ruling, the file notations were all slowly turning to Indian languages. They were reporting to political bosses who did not know English. So the file notation in Tamil Nadu had to be in Tamil, in Kerala it had to be in Malayalam. Right? In Punjab it had to be in Punjabi. So everybody was IAS people, IPS people were studying local languages to write. 70s में हमें लगा जब मैं started studying English that oh shit, मैं गलती कर गया. I'm studying English at a time when English is losing steam. मेरे job भी नहीं होगा यहाँ पे अब तो, right? But it came back. It came back with a vengeance in the 1990s. In terms of writing, 83, Rushdie wins an award and suddenly Indian writing becomes visible. वो अलग है. In terms of Indian literature, I would say 70s, novel went out of fashion, poetry was surviving, but it was a poetry of angst and individual loneliness. And individual, अरे अंग्रेजों ने मुझे अंग्रेजी दे दिया, अब मैं क्या करूँ? Right? That kind of thing. Okay, now we were thinking that, okay, this is in the 70s, if you think about it, after the Bangladesh war, what is Indira Gandhi's greatest fear? Her greatest fear was that two Bengals will unite. Because Bangladesh was formed on the basis of language now, not on the basis of religion. Right? On the basis of religion, it became Pakistan. Basis of language, it became Bangladesh. Her fear was West Bengal, which still calls it a West Bengal. And West Bengal and East Bengal would join. Her greatest fear was that everywhere linguistic states will become nations. That this is going to happen. That Tamil Nadu, which always wanted independence, will want independence again. Which always wanted to be independent. Right? That various states in Northeast had already started their struggles in a big way earlier itself. Whether you remember it or not, हम सब अपना अपना जानते हैं. हमें मालूम है यहाँ पे क्या हुआ. हमें कई बार नहीं मालूम होता और जगह पे क्या हुआ. We don't know. We don't know that Manekshaw, with Indira Gandhi's support, ordered the bombing of an Indian city. And which Indian city was it? It was Aizawl, Mizoram. They bombed a city which they said belonged to India. They wanted independence and you bombed the city to say you're Indians. तुम कैसे independent हो गए? तुम हमारे हो? Bomb. Logic ही नहीं है. Logic ही नहीं है. Right? But this is what English betrayed us, the idea of this nation, and we have fought to keep this English nation going. Right? When this nation wanted to speak different languages, the only thing that we kept it going was this vision that we received English. In English. Right? India, जब आप बोलते हैं India, right? And what is this India that you talk about? Are you talking about India like you're talking about Europe? With different nations coming in? No. We're talking about the India that the British ruled. The one nation that the British ruled and called India. That is what we're still talking about is India. Give and take a few boundary lines. But that's what we talk about as India, right? So, to me, post-colonial English also involves our vision of the country. What post-colonial English does for us, right? To think about this country. I could easily have turned this talk into simply about only about language, only about English. I could have started by saying, my good name is Prasad. What is your good name? I could have said that. I could have started with that. To say how many expressions are not English at all, and yet we use them. And yet we use them, and we laugh at them, but we use them. Right? I could have gone off to say, हम जब Indian English की बात करते हैं, we have a problem because when you talk, I laugh. When I talk, you laugh. When I say, I am Prasad, and we should all remember that we belong to the earth. We are all one family. And you start smiling and laughing. यार ये क्या है? Teacher English का क्या बोलता है? Right? So it's like having somebody from east of India coming and saying, Mr. Professor Prasad, you all know Professor Prasad. He's a very important man. How do you know I'm important here? But the thing is, you laugh at each other's accent. You laugh at each other's English. We don't understand words we use because they're completely local words that we're using, right? I'll give you an example, just to say where all Akal gone with this. Kushal Singh set great store with very good English. He practiced speaking English to English people. He worked up poems. He wanted to say if you're an English writer, you should write good standard English. Why if you looked at train to Pakistan? Train to Pakistan में one of the first things you notice is government official को विलेजर बात कर रहा है and he calls him government. Government? What is government? Hey, government, you're my mother father. अरे सरकार आप हमारे माँ बाप हैं. Government, you're our mother father. thing done. He said, he's realized, yeah, I cannot write standard English. This is something it so belongs to culture. The language that is being spoken now, that they are not speaking English, that even if it sounds funny, I have to give it its English equivalent. I have to translate. I have to translate. And what does translation allow you to do? It allows you to also be the insider-outsider, to critique your own culture. कि भाई हम इतने फ्यूडल हैं कि हम सरकार बोलते हैं एक आदमी को, हम उसको माय बाप बोलते हैं. It's a very feudal culture. You critique a culture by translating because you end up laughing also, right? Just like, please सब क्षमा कर दें मुझे पहले से साला लोकराज आनंद everybody like brother-in-law. Because he cannot write Sala, na? He writes brother-in-law. So, come here, your brother-in-law. If you're an English reader, क्या पढ़ोगे, क्या समझोगे? Come here, brother-in-law. I will show you. You call it brother-in-law? ये क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे? Right? You have no idea. And it's not just English reader. Many Indian readers don't know what's happening here. Right? There can be one thing, in Tamil Nadu, if you go to a Tamil student and say, he look at it and say, sir, what is this term brother-in-law being used here? He is not his brother-in-law. And I said, no, he is not his brother-in-law. Then why is he calling me brother-in-law? So I had to say, like you call each other machi. And machi is not fish. It is brother-in-law in Tamil. Right? So it's a modern slang. It's not then used then. As Sala was, but used in the late 1990s and now Tamil students to call each other machi. So it's like that. So yeah, machi. They say, yeah, okay, machi. Machi is like, if he knows him, he will say, or she will say, machi is like yaar. Are come here, yaar. I say, okay, that's what we're using it to. Sala means yaar. But why are they getting angry? Why is it leading to a fight? Then you have to understand the culture where women are possessions and honor of the family, the male members of the family, is in the way they guard their possessions, in the way they guard their women. And if I say to a man that I slept with a sister, this implication of saying brother-in-law, I am not just, I may be in love with his sister may be in love with me, that's not the question. The question is, I've dishonored them. I have told them that they cannot even defend the honor of their sister, they cannot defend their own possessions. It's a deadly insult. It's a deadly insult. And I need to be killed. I need to be killed for having said it. You need to understand that to understand what Jawaharlal is doing. So, when you use Indian English, English displaces you. It displaces you. So the post-colonial English we want, but English always what English did was to displace you. It displaced you and made you look at your own culture and also made you look in anger at the language that had displaced you. Both reactions are possible. One, you looked at your own culture, other you reacted in anger. कि ये अंग्रेज लोगों ने आके हमारा क्या कर दिया है? Westernization. What has Westernization done to us? Right? So this is an interesting thing that English does, that English is, as it westernizes you. You remember, by the way, अंग्रेजी में हमारे ऊपर अंग्रेजी थोड़ा मानता हूँ. अंग्रेजी comes first through Calcutta. In Kolkata, they demand English. They have English teaching shops. I think they're conspiring to tell me to shut up. Right, they left. So, okay. In England they have, so in Calcutta they have English teaching shops. What is the possibility? India में सिर्फ अंग्रेज नहीं आए, फ्रेंच आए, पोर्चुगीज आए, डच आए, उससे बहुत ज़माने पहले से अरब्स आए. Right? In Kolkata you had all these languages available. These are all the languages of the seafaring community. Ships coming into port, everything was available. Bengal decided, or Kolkata decided, the language of the future, the language of commerce was going to be English. They wanted English. So in the company rule was there. One of the major Bengali thinkers, Raja Ram Roy, writes to the company, कि भाई, what we need is education in English. We need education, we need English to be taught to us, and we need Western education, we need science, we need Western philosophy. We don't need Sanskrit and Persian. Don't open schools for us, don't give money for us to educate in Sanskrit and Persian. वो तो पुराना ज़माना है. Give us English. This is from Raja Ram Roy in 1815. अरे 20 साल बाद लिखता अपना मिलन मैकॉले. 20 years earlier, Raja Ram Roy asked that. And that I'm saying because now it's the same situation. Now it's the same situation where people want English. People want English. From 1990s onwards, I'm saying we're in the same boat, that we want English. Teaching shops everywhere, wanting to be learn Western, listening to English songs, reading English stuff, wanting to be English. That's why I said in the middle, everything's changed, but nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Right? I could have, while talking about this, I could have simply talked, as I said, this is my talk, but instead I could simply have talked about what Indian English means, the collocations. If you want to read that, you should read the Kachrooms, Indianization of English by Braj. So what happens there is, you talk about how the structures have changed, how we use English differently, how Indian words come in, how Indian collocations come in, how we have changed English forever, and how there is an Indian English, like there is American English, like there is Australian English. Of course, all of it is untrue, because we don't have an Indian English. And finally enough, if you go to America, you realize there is not one American English. And Australia, there is not one Australian English. America में तो chance ही नहीं है. The plan we very often copy from is a very New York plan, Nehru plan. बाकी लोग तस्लीम होते, we don't know the southern drawl at all. We all speak English very differently, and the references are very different. Right? You go to Australia, it's completely mixed language. All kinds of English is being spoken out there. Right? So we don't have, just like as I said, we don't have an Indian English. Right? In terms of vocabulary, at least you can say these are the spelling rules in American English. You can say this is the vocabulary in Australian English. Indian English में नहीं है. हमारे spelling rules are still British rules, and now more and more American because of the computer. Right? Computer corrects us to American English all the time. Otherwise, we don't have an Indian English in terms of either complete set of vocabulary we all accept, or some kind of grammar we all accept, or a certain translation we all accept. It's not there. It is not there. But there are many variations. And the good thing about us now, I don't know good thing, the different thing about us now, as opposed to earlier, as opposed to even my life earlier in my life, is an acceptance of the various ways in which we speak and write English. We accept it. And we don't say, we don't point out mistakes as we don't call them mistakes. Because mistake on the basis of what? Are you still having a British standard? Why a mistake? So there is a greater acceptance. And a greater acceptance that it is the language of our life. It is the language of our life. Right? So post-colonial English is not a language of compulsion. It is one of the languages of our life that we spend part of our life in. Right? And that people, it has pollinated our languages so much, our lives so much, that people who would least expect to speak English. Right? So it's a lot more democratization of the language and its use. So I would say post-colonial English has traversed that. What is the time? You have to tell me the time. It's 12.
We would never stop you. This is so interesting.
It's 12. So I have some more time to talk, or you want to start the question and answer? What do we want? Interaction. Okay, I can wrap up. मेरा wrapping up बहुत problematic होता है because I don't know how you all write. Do any of you write fiction in any language? Stories, poetry, even the research papers. जब लिखते हो आप, do you write till a particular point, go away, come back after 10 days and start where you left? Because I don't do that. I restart. So if I write 10 pages, I'll come back to it and say, and I'll start again. Because my feeling is, if it was fluent, मैं 10 मिनट में क्यों रोकता? मैं तो पूरा लिख देता. So there's something wrong with it. I'll restart. So sometimes my papers have had 5 or 6 or 10 starts before they get completed. So my wrapping up is a bit like that. मैं फिर शुरू कर दूंगा कि भाई ये wrap up क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? ये तो wrap up हो जाना चाहिए तब तक. दिन भर तो मैंने कुछ गलती की है. Right? Let me go back and think about it again. See, one of the things I was talking about madrasa school and language of street, Hindu and language of the school, the different kind of, we spoke mainly Hindi in school because we didn't want anybody to feel कि ये कौन सा caste का है. Right? It's a way, unconsciously when we spoke Hindi to each other, with very, what kind of neutral Tamil words thrown in. After we finished school, we all went our different ways. Different background, because that school had children of construction workers, of road workers, of maid servants. It had middle class government employees, upper middle class corporate employees, all children going to the same school because they're Tamilians. Each one had a different path. After 20 Kaito just had to find a job immediately. Some people could afford to go to college. Some people go off complete middle class thing, engineering करना है, like I did 2 years of engineering करना है, medicine करना है. And there are those who go off to do some degree somewhere to join their parents' businesses. सब थे एक ही स्कूल में. So we all went off in different directions. Me, of course, I was a failure. क्योंकि 2 साल ट्रिपल इलेक्ट्रिकल इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स इंजीनियरिंग करके छोड़ के आ गया, तो फेलियर है ना. तो I lost touch completely with my classmates. Many of them, and most of them lost touch with each other. This is very, very old times we're talking about, ancient times. I finished school in 1972. After the millennium, new millennium. Right, we're talking about more than 30 years after. One of my classmates, who was the security in charge of a major steel plant, said, यार मैं इतना कुछ कर सकता हूँ, I can trace my classmates. So he traced some of us and got us together for a meeting in Delhi. We met. And that has grown. We're now a bigger group. We meet. Of course, school classmates are the worst people to get to know again in life because इतना change हो जाते हैं. Not in looks, in their views. They are not the fun people you played with in school. They are all very different people now. Anyways, but we all met. What did I realize? He had found every one of us who was successful in English. That is, our English had taken us places, and English not given to us by our school, and English we had got from our families. And that family background, he traced every one of us with that kind of family background who had command of English and had reached places. He didn't trace, and he not traced any of the others. Right? And we finally found the only Muslim classmate we had, because he was from a different class. Whole aim of his family was to try and send him off to the Middle East. And he finished school, he went somewhere, then he went off to the Middle East. So he finally came back and he traced us. We couldn't trace him. What does spoken English and English still mean therefore? It still means opportunity. It still means mobility. Right? It still is the dream language of the middle class. The dream of the language of middle class, where you tell your children, don't go into politics. Protest में नहीं आना. No strikes. You have to तरक्की करनी है आपको. The language you do tarki in, if you don't have money already, is English. But that is a wrap up. That postcolonial English still has us in its tentacles. हम सब उसी में अभी भी फंसे हुए हैं, जितना मर्जी हम चेंज करें, जितना मर्जी आप अपना बनाए, जितना मर्जी करें, वो क्यों अपना बन रहा है, क्यों हम सबको चाहिए? That's the question. And that's the question I say, that till India thinks of each region of India as autonomous, each language is equal to every other language, till we use terms like regional language, because if a language is regional, then there is the national language, which is why Hindi wala say wrongly that Hindi is a national language. Arey kahan se yaar? Right? So it's this, all these struggles continue in this way. English will remain. Until globalization has an impact on us, if it's not replaced with something else, English will remain. हम तो इतने डिस्परेट हो गए थे इसके ग्लोबलाइजेशन के फ्रूट्स के लिए कि हम कॉल सेंटर जाके अपना नाम बदल देते थे. I am Jason. I met people, it's kind of crazy. They call centers with their English American names, with their British names, with a false accent, pretending to be based in the US, pretending to be based in England, talking to clients there. Right? And I was in the US once, in my sister-in-law's house, and they picked up the phone, and this guy saying, in a very weird American accent, whether we wanted something. And I said, no, yeah, we don't want anything. He said, sir, Indian? I said, yes. He says, sir speaks Tamil? I said, yes. And he spoke Tamil to me. Right? And he said, sir, don't tell anyone. Because he gave me his real name. He said, sir, don't tell anyone I spoke in Tamil to you. I said, okay, I won't tell anyone. I'm telling the whole world. Right? But it's English still means a great deal to us, and will continue to mean a great deal to us. It's not going away. Post-colonial is no longer even the operative word. वो तो कभी का गया, उसका impact ही नहीं है, अंग्रेजों का impact नहीं है ये. This is not one country's impact on us, right? It is not one conquering nation's impact on us. It's gone to different places. So that's a wrap up. Thank you. गाली देना दीजिए.
So we have questions now. Anybody who wants to comment or ask a question?
As I said, गाली भी तो नहीं दे सकते हैं. यार, अब तुम समझ में आए आपको और आपने क्या प्रकाश कर दी?
किसी भी लैंग्वेज में पूछ सकते हो.
हाँ.
Any
Any
language.
language.
Yes.
हाँ, बोलिए.
So my question to you is
about the associating factors between language and nationalism. So what are the factors which are responsible for associating language with nationalism?
You know, I am known for being non-theoretical and being commonsensical. You see, this language and nation business, which is classical European nationalism, which comes through the theorization of nation also, कि एक linguistic community, इंडिया में कैसे चलेगा? नहीं चला है ठीक से. Which is why we've always had nationalist aspirations of different states. है नहीं? So Punjabi come together, I'm a nation. It also with community, right? So Tamil is a nation, Bengali is a nation, Marathi is a nation. आप सोचो कि मराठी से नेशन क्या बोल रहा है? अरे यार, बिहारी go get out of Maharashtra, Tamilians get out of Bombay. This whole Shiv Sena thing of saying outsiders go. What is that? What is that they're saying? They're saying Maharashtra for Marathis, right? You can even get into castes and Marathas, वो अलग बात है. Tamil Nadu for Tamilians, Andhra and Telangana for Telugus, Kerala for Malayalis. In an interesting way, because Telangana and Andhra is a very funny thing, but two states divided by one language. because they said domination of one part of the state and a kind of Telugu over the other Telugu. People were like, but basically our nationalist aspirations should and do come in terms of our own languages. And do come. But the Indian national movement got over it at that point of time by deferring. I know if you read some of the freedom movement accounts, in Karnataka was trying to differentiate itself from Tamil, Madras presidency, the Tamil hegemony, right? So they wanted a Kannada nation and at Kannada Mata. In fact, if you go to Karnataka, it's one of the states that had its own state anthem. And its state anthem is so long, by the time it finishes, you collapse. So they have the nation was very strong there, Kannada nation. So the communists told Kannada people, first Bharat Mata, then Kannada Mata. पहले भारत को फ्री कराओ, फिर हम कनाडा की बात करेंगे. Right? Basically, the idea was to give you a linguistic state. So the linguistic state is actual nationalist aspiration. Right? You keep saying the biggest mistake of independent India was to create linguistic states because it gave rise to nationalist aspirations. Right? But the nationalist aspiration was there, which is where the linguistic state came. And so you think one community, one language, one culture. Right? So this whole, what role does English play in this? What role does English play here? This is what I was saying, that English allowed us to imagine India. It allowed us to imagine India, a conglomeration of all these states, which other languages did not allow you to. So I could not have imagined India in Tamil. I could have imagined in Tamil Nadu in Tamil. I could have imagined Bengal. In fact, imagine in Bengali, because in Bengali, when they say West, they mean West of Bengal. But in English, when I say West, I mean West of India. So both फर्क पड़ जाता है ना, the way you're imagining, what you're imagining, right? So the Desh is just a Bengal state. So it is such a way that when you look at language and nationalism, curiously, paradoxically, ironically, it is English which allows an India to be imagined, right? Which is why it always seems wrong also. It always seems wrong. सब कुछ तो ये क्या इंडिया का है, क्या हो रहा है यहाँ पे, ये हम पे क्यों ठोक रहे हैं, right? I am Kashmiri, I am Punjabi, I am Bengali. What is this India? But the India is coming from elsewhere. India is coming from elsewhere. India actually finally is necessary for people like me. For people like me who live outside the state, who lived outside the state all their lives, whose families have lived outside the state and some within the state there, that we can no longer be at home in Tamil Nadu. Right? We can be at home in metropolitan metros all over the country. But since we won't belong anywhere, any of those, in terms of our local language, we need an English India. Right? We need an English India. A central government service needs English. Tamil Nadu state service does not need English. You see the point I'm making? So nationalism and language is a very complex thing in India. It's a very complex thing in India. That we still exist as a nation is fantastic. It's fantastic. It's great. Right? That we are surviving and perhaps even stronger is fantastic. And why is he stronger? The most peaceful state in this country, peaceful in very many ways, is Mizoram. Jahan pe, as I said, the Indian Army, Air Force bombed Aizawl. That state is the most peaceful state. Why? They reconciled to all that, they've gone beyond that, and they're quite happy. And because this Hindu is saying this, okay? Because of the church and the influence of the church out there. You open a Mizo newspaper in English, I only read English, you open it, you will not, first 4 pages in any newspaper anywhere else in India, murder, rape, gang rape, old people murdered, 5-year-old girl raped and murdered. यही दिखता ना न्यूज़पेपर में मैक्सिमम भी drunk youth falls into ditch. और कुछ नहीं हो, कोई रेप मर्डर थेफ्ट कुछ मेजर हो गया तो होता ही नहीं है वहां पे, होता नहीं है. It's a different kind of place altogether. You have to go there to understand. It's a state. This is farmland state. वहां पे farms के बाहर there will be produce. Vegetables का time है, vegetables basket. So there was a placard. I was going to taxi. I said, stop here. I want to. क्या है? He says, this is vegetables. You don't know? I said, I know it's vegetables, but why is it being kept here? For sale. There's nobody here. He said, no, for people. So I said, stop for people? He said, yes. And it said, take as much as you need. The placard said, take as much as you need. मैंने कहा, ये, I can take it? He said, yes, but why do you want to take it? You're going to a hotel. I said, what? He says, this is not for greed. This is for need. तुम यहाँ से जाओगे होटल को क्या करोगे? फेंक दोगे? Right? You don't need it. He says, so they keep what they use, and what they can't, they leave it for others to take. And they say, take as per your need. In fact, one placard also said, not as per greed, please leave some for others. And a shop also saw, and he said, oh, they need money. And that shop, inside the shop, said, please leave the cash in this box. Nobody is sitting there. जितना चाहिए लो, कैश डालो, जाओ. कैसा स्टेट देखा आपने? इंडिया में है, जबरदस्ती रखा हुआ आपने इंडिया में, मतलब सीखा नहीं कुछ उनसे. Right? So, yeah, sorry, this was from language to nationalism, and where have I gone? Because I've gone to one incipient nationalism movement, Mizo, which stopped, and has quite happily integrated in India, and we have yet so much to learn. Sorry, that was a long answer for a short question.
Yes, sir.
Please.
Thank you, sir. With the permission of Chair, I wish to request you to tell us, to share your intellectual journey with us, as you have worked in diverse area, in disability, in translation, in Dalit, and organized so many functions. You are novelist, dramatist, and whatnot. So, थोड़ा आप अपने बारे में कैसे आप बैलेंस करते हो इतनी सारी चीजों को? You are a popular teacher also. तो आप थोड़ा बताएं.
बुढ़ा हूँ. So Shantanu said I've taught for 35 years, that is in more than 35 years, that's in terms of permanent positions. I've taught for more than 41 years now. 41 साल में आदमी क्या नहीं कर सकता है? You traverse a huge intellectual area when you are teaching, involved in research, involved with your students, involved in affair नहीं, involved in their work. So involved in the work of the students for 41 odd years. So you get to know so many, and you get interested in so many different areas, and you also don't want to teach the same thing, you're bored teaching the same thing, you teach other areas as well when you have the advantage to do it. तो बहुत कुछ किया है. It's also a certain evolving, you can also see the evolution of discipline. कि discipline में क्या क्या allowed हुआ है, right? So when I started off, it was a very canonical British. तो जो American was seen as radical. अरे American क्या करते हैं? So British and American, that was discipline when I was studying. But I was lucky. I joined JNU, which was just beginning to think of it's an English program. So we could think differently. We wanted to differentiate ourselves with canonical departments. So we started looking at Indian writing in English, immediately Indian writing in English translation. So by Indian we said, Indian cannot only be English. The problem I've been talking about in a way hinting at is India amazing hoti hai. So we said, if we agree that India is full of different languages, then we just can't say Indian English. We have to talk about India in translation. So we have to have studies. So in our MA program, very early, before anybody else in the country had thought of it, we had books, plays, novels, poetry and translation. We also did a world poetry course where students could bring any language into the class. any language. We had the openness, flexibility of JNU of those days. कम बड़ा JNU में भी तब था. We could do what we wanted. So I took complete advantage of this. I took complete advantage of this and I made my life an intellectual journey where I dipped into various things and what I kind of appeals to me over a period of time. I stayed with for a very long time. Some I do for a while and then I go on. For example, Australian literature was something I did for a certain period of time. And after that period of time, I kind of slowly let go. That is not something I do now. Alright? Though I can talk about it, I don't do it. Disability came into my personal life. My brother had a spastic child. And my brother and my sister-in-law realized at that time, again we're talking very early, there was not enough special education in this country. The only special education school was still in Mumbai. And when he was transferred to South Tamil Nadu, they found there are no educational facilities. So they set up a school. There is a major school for disabled children in Madras called Vidyasagar, named Vidyasagar, where the whole family, it's a kind of family interest, but they've set up an institution which would last beyond the family. And now my brother died a long time ago. My sister-in-law gave up much later after school established. She set up a system that when she got a position with the central government as in the disability sector, she came and somebody else took over the school. So the school runs as an institution without our family being involved. Right. So our whole thing of enfranchising people, of setting up systems, that got me into thinking about disability. In this country, you can't be an English literature teacher. I think can't be any literature teacher, but take English definitely. You cannot be an English literature teacher without thinking about Indian languages and therefore without thinking about translation. Right? That's number one. Number two, I don't think you can be a writer, and I started off thinking of myself as a writer. You can't be a writer in English without thinking of translation. Right? So both ways I thought of translation. As soon as I started specializing 1980 in Indian English, I started thinking about translation. Right? So translation is automatic. Just like you cannot think of India and Indian literature without thinking of comparative literature. You have to think comparatively. You also, if you're a comparatist, you need translation. Again, you can't know other languages. Right? So translation becomes, I think, should be a major part of every English teacher's life. It should be more and more your area of interest for everyone. So translation is a major area of interest. It did not come into fruition till the 1990s, but something I was interested in. In the 1990s, people around me started looking at me differently. They started realizing that this guy talks about translation in Indian English. That he talks about translation, talking about Indian English. So that fascinated translation studies scholars. Right. So my major publications that have taken me around the world began in the 1990s with translation studies, people looking at my work on Indian English. ये work किया हुआ था पहले, but published internationally was in the 1980s. Right. So that's the other thing for people. I would say, if you're interested in some area, don't give up. Because at some point, others will also catch up with you. Others will catch up with you and say, oh, I want this. Right. So, Indian English when I started working on, people said, Indian English kya cheez hai? But soon Indian English was big. When I was talking about translation studies in some way, translation in some way, people didn't think very much, then it became big. I moved on to proper translation studies after that. Because you are interested in comparative literature, you're interested in what translation does, you're interested in translation and power. Because language and power is something we talk about all the time. So translation as an act of power and translation as an act of empowerment. इंडिया में तो ट्रांसलेशन डिप्लोमेसी के लिए होती है. कभी सोचा आपने एम्बेसडर मैं बोलता इसको, बिकॉज वी ट्रांसलेट फ्रॉम आवर लैंग्वेज टू इंग्लिश. एंड क्यों कर रहे हैं हम? इसलिए कर रहे हैं कि हम दुनिया को दिखाना चाहते हैं कि मेरे लैंग्वेज में इतना अच्छी चीज है. हाँ, सबको पढ़ना चाहिए मेरे लैंग्वेज को. सो यू आर an ambassador for your own language. in the West, people translate from other languages to their own language. In India, we translate from our language to some other language, very often English, because we want to show the world that we are also equally good. So it's an interesting thing that we do, right? So I got interested in this act, in what we are actually doing. So translation becomes big. Disability and translation don't get together because all disability activism, all disability, when you are dealing with empowerment of disabled people, you are talking about translating their lives. Because where translation had taken me was to cultural translation. I would start up by saying we're all translated people. अरे रुश्ती क्या बोल रहा था, हम जानते नहीं है क्या? I don't have to go to England to be translated. मैं तो यहीं पे translated हूँ ना. मूवी भी क्या मैं translated हूँ? Right? क्या पहना हूँ? Trousers, shoes, shirt. क्या इंडियन है इसमें? क्या इंडियन है? By Indian I mean which location? कोई located चीज पहना मैं? नहीं पहना हूँ. Right? And when we start thinking about clothes and poetry, you can think each thing that we have came from somewhere else at a period of time. At a period of time. Right? Even the way you wear your sari, Amita Ghosh tells us, comes from where? Burma. Because the Burmese queen used to wear sari like that, and that was copied by the Bengal aristocracy, and that is the way you all wear your saris now. It's an interesting thing that sari to bahut Indian hai. So, people will say, salwar kameez. People say, yeah, let's talk about where each item of dress comes from, when it came, when we started wearing it. These are interesting questions to ask. Food. Right? Interesting question to ask about food. We're not talking about post-colonial English, but let's talk about post-colonial, when we're talking about that, but post-colonial food. In Bengal, because of him, in Bengal, every dish will have aloo, potato. Or a potato is not right? And potato is not an Indian vegetable. Potato is not Indian. Tomato is not Indian. Mirch is not Indian. They all came historically, you can see 500 saal pehle, 400 saal pehle. I can give timings of when they came to India. And mirch nahi to Indian food kya hai? Mirch Indian nahi hai? Aloo Indian nahi hai? Nahi hai. Tomato Indian nahi hai? Nahi hai. And it's recorded when it comes to India. I have a Bhakti poet in Tamil who says that the chili has come to India to help the poor have tasty food. Because in the south, I'm sure in the north as well, the poor people will crush the chili. They'll be given old rice, they'll be given some stale dal or curd or whatever, and they'll crush the chili and eat it with it. Right? So this Bhakti poet is saying it's a godsend, God's gift to us through the Americas, through the Portuguese. Right? Post-colonial India, we have to think about it. Hamara to kuch nahi hai. Everything has come from elsewhere. I know. I don't know. Let's not go too political about it. But the fact is that a lot of the food we eat comes from elsewhere. I like that Manali guy because next time I went to Manali, the Indian, South Indian, Chinese likha tha. Next time we made a variation. He had written Indian, South Indian, Chinese and Mughlai cooking. अरे मैंने तो सोचा नॉर्थ इंडियन कुकिंग इज मुगलाई कुकिंग, ये कहाँ से सेपरेट हो गया? राइट? एंड देन वी रियलाइज बेटा आप समझने सेपरेट नहीं हुआ, मैंने उनको अभी थोड़ा समझने लगे हैं कि दैट इज ओरिजिनल मीनिंग ऑफ फूड. आप यहाँ से आप समरकंद जाओ, उज्बेकिस्तान जाओ, you go wherever you want in that cluster of republics in the former Soviet Union, and you go towards towards West Asia, तुम्हें samosa, jalebi, naan, tandoori, you get all the food that you think of as North Indian. You get it everywhere, and they will tell you it's come from there. Halwa, right? Just like our jiba. These are Arabic names, right? And यार food का मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? Your watermelon, तरबूज, बाबर में आया. After Babar, Babur comes to India, he writes saying, अरे यहाँ पे तो ढंग की फूल भी नहीं है इस country में. And in lemons to I want my watermelons, I want my grapes. He says whatever he wants, and then he gets them. He gets them. And if I tell him no, they're not Indian, you get angry with me. And he said कि बकवास करता है यार, ये मद्रासी पता नहीं क्या हो गया इसको. Anyways, so I'm sorry you asked a simple question. I say I don't know how to wrap up at all. Because this subject of country, and that's my life has been, I think, I've thought a great deal about what India is and what we can claim to be essentially or purely Indian. And I'll just laugh at myself, my own culture if you want. I told you Jibba, they think is completely Indian, Tamilian, and you will say, Jim. अरे यार तमिल से उन्होंने ज निकाल दिया है, saying it's a Sanskrit word. जो ज नहीं बोल सकते संस्कृत साउंड, जो ज नहीं बोल सकते वो जियो बोल सकते हैं. अरे जीवा, अरे कहाँ से आए अरे, right? And then you say masala dosa है, all over India you know masala dosa है. Masala, word masala, ये तमिल कहाँ से आ गया masala? And masala dosa is contemporary Udupi invention. It's not even Tamil Nadu. It's in Karnataka. Right? Dosa, both Tamil Nadu and Karnataka are claim. But masala version is Udupi. And masala is not an Tamil word. You could not have idli without the Chinese influence on Tamil Nadu. Because the only idli Tamil Nadu talks about is a fried thing. Steaming comes from Chinese to Tamil Nadu. They can't talk about sambar without Marathis. It was a Marathas who gave us sambar. So when we talk about post-colonial English, I am saying it's like talking post-colonial India, and then you realize, कौन सा colony यार? कब की बात कर रहे हो? You have had influences so much throughout, and for such a long time, that to even think that there's a colonization colony is wrong. To talk about interface, yes. To talk about connections, to talk about cross-pollination, yes, we can.